Thank you, Prakash and Rakshama, everybody, to have me here. This is one thing nobody teaches you, right? Neither in residency or fellowships. We have so many lectures about PE, DVTs, PADs this week, but not much on the job situation. What's the most important step in your life? Since you've come so far to finish the fellowship, no matter where you go, you'll do well. At this point. So, what are the potential employers looking at? I think the MGMA data shows almost 55 to 60% of the new fellows coming out of training are being employed by the hospitals, one or the other way. So either it is teaching academic centers or non-teaching hospitals that are hiring their own cardiologists. Like the private practices are brought up by the hospitals or the PE firms, some of them. So I'll go over each of them to see which one will be best to suit your lifestyle. You need to make the change or choose that path based on where you want to live, where you want to raise your family, and of course your spousal preference and the family preference makes a big difference there in your place you want to go. So academic institutions or teaching hospitals you'll have a lot of research opportunities. You have fellows and residents in that. And you will be able to get a guidance from your attendings who are in the teaching already about it most of the time. And base salaries wise, it's pretty standard. MGMA average salaries for the area. Now if you talk into ChatGPT, for the area zip code, you're looking for your degree and it'll spit out a contract for you. What do you need favor? It's amazing what they can do in the AI these days. It's unbelievable. So MGME, they have a pretty standard salaries, but what you need to do is once you decide on the place you want to live, where you want to raise your family, where you want to grow your professional career, then you decide on signing a letter of intent with that particular institution or organization or practice. Then you go once you've signed the letter of intent, then they have confidence that you're serious about it from other side. So if I'm the employer, I'm looking for somebody who's just coming for interview and leaving, or versus somebody who's writing a letter of intent, then you go to the next level. You invite them with the families, and again, second visit, third visit, and so on. And then go to the next level of discussions about it. And if somebody is on the visa, J1 visa, they need to discuss with your lawyers ahead of time because some of the states are almost 2 years ahead in approving the visas for the J1 waiver documentation and the processing there. Always review with your local state lawyers. If you're trained in New York City, if I'm trying to look for a job in Florida or Texas or California far away, you may either hire a lawyer in that state, or you may want to have your lawyer in New York have a connection there, somebody whom they can review in the local state ones. Of course, hospital employment contracts, when it comes up to, most of them are base salary plus RVU production. RVU per RVU, they have a dollar amount to each RVUs. And then they also have some metrics they want you to achieve. And also in our hospital, we did a co-management company. If you have a hybrid system, you have private attendings coming from outside private practice, and you have employed physician by the hospital, then you will have a co-management. Because each physician, if they ask for each physician is asking for one different company's tent or a device, you can't have all of them on the shelf. So it will be not cost effective. If you cut down the number of vendors in the practice so it will reduce the costs. It will give them volume discounts and so on. There is something called as co-management boards where you can be part of it, and they'll give you reimbursement for that, your time spent there as well. Of course, vacation time, CME time is standard on that, and of course there'll be payment for the calls, a specialist STEMI call these days. Every hospital will have a special payment for those. And also you can negotiate for research support, your coordinators, mid-levels, to help you do the rounds and practice. It'll be very helpful to have them to cover them. On outside speaking engagements or any other consulting fees you've already been doing before. So you should be able to not be included in your contract. So who knows about site neutrality? Do you know anybody knows about site neutrality in the room? It's something hospitals have a luxury of billing for the studies or the procedures in the outpatient setting. For example, some Mount Sinai hospital buys a practice in downtown Manhattan. Somebody private practice buys them. All the billing or reimbursements hospitals get paid within 35-mile radius. It's paid as inpatient billing. So right now, all the hospitals are benefiting this throughout the country, and that's why one of the reasons they're able to pay higher salary than the private practices. You need to be careful. This government now is nailing on the costs. This is already on the bill, one pending in the Senate, so it may go through. Some fashion, they want to cut costs, so it may affect some of the salaries in the hospital based on this site neutrality rule. So any time you want to sign a contract, you have to think about the other side, exit plan. What if things doesn't work out? You're already 2 years invested there, 3 years invested there, your family is settled, kids are in the schools, and again, your spouse job, all things are settled, you bought a home, then you suddenly realize that you may have to change the job, which is very common to change the job, first job, especially in the private practices. So what do you need to be careful about? One thing is tail insurance. It's all related to your malpractice insurance. You have to make sure they have a solid written in agreements, because it can cost you almost hundreds of $1,000s in tail insurance if you move the state or location from where you are. Restricted covenant, right, nowadays is pretty standardized. You can negotiate with them to see, at least in the area where you don't have to move, where you don't have to move your spouse jobs and so on. So conditions of termination you can negotiate as well, and the patent rights also. One of the thing in the teaching institution, if I sign up, anybody who signed up with Mount Sinai or similar institutions, whatever you invent, the hospital owns those rights, patents. If you're already working on something, you make sure you made it clear to them, this is not the Mount Sinai or this institution particularly, it's my own done doing this ahead of joining the. So you need to make sure if you patent pending, you need to make sure. And also you can include only your specialty inventions. I have a colleague who invented a teeth flossing. It's a patent. So they had to negotiate with your employer. He was working for UF Florida, and they wanted to be part of it. So you had to make sure it's clear so that you don't have any discussions afterwards, any confusion about it. So again, the private practice jobs, you end up, first visit is to see if you're fit in the area, your family likes the location, and of course, what questions you ask are a few things much about what is their revenue ratio to their expense ratios, and cash flow payer mix, and of course, very important, take your spouse with you to see the place. So, very important. When I was trained here in Mount Sinai, my wife said, anywhere I'll go without snow. That was our point, no snow. So it's very important to take her and let us see the place and make sure they're okay with it. Otherwise, you will become miserable life afterwards. So, tail insurance, again, sign-on bonus. There are certain perks you can get in there where we pay, in our group, when they have a new associate, we pay them moving expenses plus the sign-on bonus. And also retention bonus means you re-signing the next year again, there's a bonus you can include in those. And if you have student loans, you can ask the location or area, some areas, underserved areas, can be eligible for loan forgiveness. So partnership process, it should be better be clear ahead of time, not after you join them. It's very important because they'll be very shady about the partnership conditions, but it's better you be clear on it from the beginning itself before you join the practice. What are the conditions? Who became the recent partner? How it happened? You can talk to them and see how it went through. So how do they calculate the buy-in? You can ask them questions about this and distributions, even productivity and mix, so on. What are the chances of choosing private practice into changing your first job? Very high, 70% chance. To avoid this, it's better chances of avoiding the changing the first job is to look for bigger groups. Don't go for one or two physician groups. It's harder to maintain or see as a diluting their volume or income. So bigger groups have more chance that you become partnership there. So just check if they have too many people joining and leaving the group, like revolving door we call it. And also they just look at your starting salary alone. Don't look at the salary alone. What the benefits you have there and partnership track and so on. When I joined our group, they gave me a practice, not the contract, but what the partners have signed up. So very transparent. They gave me what each of the partners had a contract. This will be a contract. They gave me a copy of their own contracts. So it is very transparent. So it's better to be clear in the beginning. So be caveats. Some hospitals offer income guarantees, which means if practice is not able to or collections of income from based on your services there, your salaries will be covered by the hospital, will pitch in the amounts. But they have to sign a paper by you. You have to be careful because if you don't stay in the area, you're the one on the hook to repay them. So you just have to be careful on the terms of that income guarantees. So once you join the practice, once you decide to move, you have several ways of improving your practice there. Your community, local news, of course, educational meetings, small gatherings, and patient education talks, which you can record them and post them on your websites, social media, very important, and encourage all your patients to fill out the surveys and rating and so on. So a lot of my patients look at the ratings now. Look at your name, Google everywhere, you have the things there. How about starting your own practice? Is it still possible these days? Yes, you can. It's still an offer, still existing, but be prepared to do non-invasive practice as well as build up your interventional practice based on that. So if you can sustain your expenses for 6 months, you can start your own practice. Once you start your practice, there will be banks to help you to loan or cover your expenses. So you have several consultants who are available to you to do your paperwork. So every time you negotiate something on verbally or by text messaging, whatever, on the phone calls, make sure it's all on the paper, written down, because a lot of promises they make verbally, but they may not be turned into a final contract. Good luck to you. Thank you again, Prakash and Shama.